RAI to release this report. Congratulations to PwC and RAI. And ladies and gentlemen, you can collect this report. You can collect your copy of the reports from the PwC stall when we break later. It's over to Ms. Rachna Nath to tell us about the content of this report and what it entails.
Good morning, everyone out here. Doing a presentation after a politician has come on board, I'm sure, is extremely difficult, and specifically when he's mentioned PwC and BCG already as, you know, fleecing money out of everyone out here. But I think Mr. Goenka did a great job, and I wish he was here because, and probably would be a bit more empathetic to PwC, because one of our very own, Nirmala Sitharaman, is today the Minister of Commerce. So she was the senior manager in PwC, left us, joined BBC, and probably after that joined BJP as well. So we are very proud to have one of our own alumni in BJP today. Can you get that going? Okay. While this is being set up, I know we are already late, so let me just get started. I'm sure just by virtue of the topic of this particular convention that we have out here, there are a lot of people in this room who deal with technology. And when we talk about technology as of today, as if life was not already very difficult, because we had a lot of systems which, you know, was created as silos, then we had this issue of, you know, having to converge and integrate all of them. And today we have a number of other things which have actually come up. So I don't know how many of you have been to the room which is here on the right-hand side, but you're looking at technology now, which is actually disrupting the way retail ever happened. So I mean, while you're talking about the social media, while you're talking about, you know, handheld devices, now you have virtual walls, you have, you know, things like where you can stand in front of these walls and see how do you look as far as a particular clothing is concerned and so on. And by the way, this all needs to get integrated. So when we were, I don't know how many of you attended RLS, but we had launched a report out there called the Total Retail. And where we had surveyed around 15,000 people across the globe, and around, you know, almost 10% of them being in India. And what we realized is that as we ask our clients, and in this survey, as we ask them, you know, how they buy, what do they buy, where do they buy that, one thing was getting increasingly clear is that as far as the business model of today and the retail is concerned, there are 4 components which are very, very important and needs to be taken care of when we are talking about a seamless, experience to our clients out here. So we were talking about, you know, customer analytics, and we've talked a lot about that. Nothing better than this example of BJP which just came up. We were talking about an integrated technology. So we were talking about all the marketing system, the ERPs, the other systems getting integrated and giving a 360-degree view of the customer. We were also talking about a customer-focused organization. Very easy to do. I mean, if you talk about, let us say, you know, how organizations react when they need to interact with the customer, the first thing, does the customer come to your mind, or does merchandise come to your mind, or the process come to your mind? But we were talking about, you know, the customer-focused organization being part of that particular business model. And we were also talking about supply chain optimization, and I'll talk about it. So when we are talking about, you know, buying anytime, anywhere, we were also talking about how do I integrate this front end with my back end? How do I integrate technology, process, people, operations, everything to be able to make sure that we deliver what we've promised to our customers out here? And one of the things that we are increasingly seeing as far as IT is concerned is how IT is starting to drive a lot of these processes. So I met one of the CIOs very recently, and he has taken over as the lead for processes in that organization. So if you look at IT typically, all the processes actually converge into these particular systems. So who better than the people who work with these technology to be able to help drive processes. So I think for us, as far as this particular industry is concerned, IT today, I mean, just think about switching off your system and see what happens. Everything just goes down out there. So IT very much is starting to drive this particular industry. Another very interesting thing, whenever I talk to the CEOs, they talk to me about profitable growth, they talk to me about affordable growth. A very recent statement that I heard one of them tell me was frugal growth. Frugal means, I mean, what is that minimum I can spend to be able to get a growth which is disproportionate to my spend? And how do I use IT? I mean, going back to Mr. Goenka's thing about PwC charging a lot, but then how do I make sure that even when I'm spending on IT, a little spend on IT can give me that disproportionate growth? Then is accelerating the execution. I myself have actually been part of, in 2006 or 2007, of implementation of systems for a company which actually opened 300 stores in 3 months. 300 stores in 3 months. We were in a situation, we were running with servers to the stores because the infrastructure did not support even a syncing between, you know, the store and the warehouse out here. But today, and even going back to that particular example, obviously the business was leading the way. The business was driving, you know, how important it was for, you know, the processes and the business and IT to be able to follow that. So what we are talking about out here is accelerating execution. So let's see what does it look like when we talk about the portfolio. A lot of us have worked with this. We've talked about back-end processes. We've talked about, you know, the kiosk, the POS application, and then there's this animal in the room. If you look at the, you know, the right-hand side of this particular presentation, we all have heard about e-commerce, m-commerce, client link, social, digital, and all. And then I talk about, you know, things like digital out here, because by the time you think that, okay, this technology is worth investing in, or, you know, worth adopting, there's always something new which has actually come up out there. So emerging portfolio of technology today is getting increasingly complex. As you will see in this room before the last 2 days, or the room beside this, there's so much of technology available. The idea is, what do I adopt? Which will again give me that frugal innovation or the frugal business out here. So in our report, what we have done is we picked up around 7, 8 of them. And we have talked about how that is actually changing the way retail is operating in India. We haven't really gone too much global, though we have talked a lot through case studies out there. And I can see Soulflower out there. Soulflower is actually one of the case studies that we have used. We were very intrigued by the way they did analytics. We were very intrigued that they actually went to the Rashis, and actually if I'm an Aryan, they actually said if